And welcome to another edition of South Texas Crossfire. This is Attorney Joe Flores reminding you to join us each and every week right here on KTMV Channel 6 Time Warner. And let's not forget about their sister station, Channel 21, over there in San Antonio, Texas. That's Channel 21 Time Warner. And our good friends in Laredo, which will be simultaneously broadcast over there on the CBS affiliate. Gabe Gonzalez and his right hand Jacob doing a great job for me over there. And now on YouTube, 140 uploads, or we call them webisodes, and growing. We've got a lot of quality politicians, judges, community leaders, everybody who's come out, and we're getting a lot of good, especially with campaign time, we're getting a lot of good feedback. And always remember, you can send an email to me at joe@Flores Law Firm or attorneyjoeflores@gmail.com. With me today, it is an honor to introduce a judge who has presided on the 214th District Court here in Nueces County for 8 years. He's presided over some very difficult cases, some tough decisions, and it's a privilege to bring him on, Jose Longoria. Welcome, Judge.
Joe, my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
I appreciate the time that you had, Your Honor. It's Friday, and right now you were impaneling a jury. I mean, it's just nonstop, and you're also embroiled in an election. Unfortunately, judges do have to run for office in Texas on the state level.
That's correct. Unfortunately, we have to do
Yeah,
that,
unfortunately, but you know, you know, you've been up there for 8 years, so I want to take advantage of that knowledge that you can impart upon us and the people out there. We have very few opportunities to talk to a district judge, and many people, Judge, I had the Supreme Court Justice on, Dale Wainwright, last week, and I said this, and I'll say it again. Many people say, I don't even spit on the sidewalk. I wear my seatbelt. I pay my taxes. What do I care what judge is up there? And you and I know, Judge, you and I know that it makes a lot of difference in our daily lives, in our health, our safety, our welfare, the protection of our children. So let's jump in feet first. Your Honor, many times you have to balance justice and you want to, you know, give your opinion, but judges can't do that, can they?
That's correct. I think, Joe, the situation is that after, you know, practicing 23 years before I took the bench has made a big difference because I know exactly what's expected of the courtroom and the litigants and the respect of everybody that comes before me. And that's a job that we have to look at very carefully.
Well, let me stop you there, Judge. I think that, you know, that's very well said. And I think it's important for people to understand that judges are human, like all the rest of us. We make mistakes. You're just not up there monolithically issuing out justice. There's emotion to it. You have to think about what you're doing. And so let's go back a little bit. Where were you raised, your background? I want to hear all about it. I'm sure the audience would love to learn a lot more about Judge Jose Longoria.
Well, I grew up in Corpus Christi, went to schools here before going off to the university. And once I finished my studies, I returned to Corpus Christi, started practicing law. I worked for a while with Bill Mobley, our district attorney, 2 district attorneys ago, and tried to learn there as much as I could, and then moved on to a private practice and had a private practice for almost 23 years.
Well, and throughout that experience, you know, you've got a quarter century of experience, you know, in the practice of law. You know, a lot of it was trial work, correct?
Correct.
So when you make that progression as a lawyer, I always am fascinated to ask lawyers, when you make that progression from the law, from being a lawyer, advocating for your clients, fighting for justice, and then when you sit up on that bench, how does that change the way, if it does, change your view of the law and the administration of justice?
Well, the fact that I was very fortunate, Joe, to have judges that respected the lawyers and gave them the opportunity to present their cases. And I learned a lot. I mean, we had some real fine judges while I was practicing. And during that time, I had some very difficult cases. I tried capital murder cases, tried murder cases, then divorces, civil cases. I did a little bit of everything. So I was well-rounded when I decided to take the bench. I was offered the bench early in my career. My children were young, and I said, there's just no way that I can do that, you know. I made the joke, I just barely found out where the courthouse was after 7 years, so it didn't work that way. But,
Right.
you know, I just felt that someday it was going to happen, and that's when I decided to run for the 214th District Court.
Your children, any of them involved in legal practice or in the legal professions or law enforcement?
Unfortunately, 2 of my boys went off and got law degrees.
No way.
Yeah. One practices in Austin.
Oh, awesome.
And another one in New York.
Wow.
And then my youngest son, Javier, is in Chicago in its last leg of medical school.
Well, that's fantastic.
One more semester of medical school.
That's fantastic, and it all, I'm sure, was made possible by you and their mother and all the hard work you did as an attorney, and 2 lawyers and a doctor in the family, huh?
Of course, I've got my pride and joy, of course, is my granddaughter that is my daughter's daughter that lives in Philadelphia, outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
We just went over there. In fact, with the manager of KTMV, we went over there and talked about some deals about the station, and we were in Philadelphia. Lovely. Yeah, the Phillies had just gotten into the World Series, so it was quite a wild night in Philadelphia when we were there.
I bet, and they're still there right
now.
I think it's 1-1, one for
the
Rays and one for the Phillies. So.
Well, you know, you're looking at being up here in the community, in Corpus Christi, coming up in the community. Right. You went off, you came back to school. What made you want to come back to Corpus Christi?
This was my home, and I always felt that, you know, if I was going to practice law, it had to be in Corpus Christi because that's where I was better known. And I just wanted to serve my community someday. I wanted to be able to serve my community, and that's what I'm doing now, and that's when I decided to run for a judgeship.
Well, and earlier on in your career, you said that, you know, and a lot of lawyers would have jumped at it, but, you know, you put your family first and said, what made you, motivated you to say, maybe later on in my career, what were the circumstances? They wanted to appoint you, I take it?
Yes.
And who was that, and what were the circumstances?
Hayden Head Sr.
Oh, yes.
You know, had asked, you know, to think about it, wanted me to think about it. Then Michael Kendrick, his partner, you know, called me, and they just had one question for me: what party I was affiliated with. And
those were the days.
And when I told them, they said, "Well, we would like for you to really consider it seriously." Right. And then I got pressure from a couple of lawyers that would said, "You know, you got to do it." But my boys were still young, and I just didn't feel at the time that I was going to be able to give the judicial profession the time that I needed to give, because, you know, you take a lot of that home with you.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, as a lawyer, sometimes you take home your cases, you're thinking about them. As a judge, this happens also. There's some very difficult cases that I've tried, and, you know, you go home and you think about it, and you come back the next day and you continue. And I didn't want that to interfere with bringing up the boys and having them, you know, run through that. And
right.
Of course their mother was there, and their sister was the oldest one, so she would have been able to take care of that. But I wanted to be so much part of their life at that time that I said, this way I can take off when I want, and I can leave and go to the ballparks, which I'm proud to say that out of the 3 boys, I only missed 1 game one time, because I was testifying, strangely enough, in a capital murder case in Kingsville.
Oh, my
I happened to be coming out of going into the elevator here at the courthouse, and a prisoner escaped. And he was trying to get in that elevator, and I said, "Where do you think you're going?" And he ran down the stairs, and I was called as a witness, because he was actually a prisoner here on a case, but his capital murder case was out of Kingsville.
I hope he writes some memoirs for years here as a judge, you know, because, I mean, there's some interesting stories. And as luck would have it, you know, I know you can't comment on ongoing cases, Your Honor, but as luck has it, you get some very interesting cases in your courtroom, and I've been there to see them.